You can do it when you're exercising, when you're running or something. A lot of times that's kind of meditative and it brings up these varied thoughts. You can start journaling. I don't like physically writing, so that's something I don't like to do. Or you can make videos like me and just put all your dirty laundry out there and process it that way, I guess. So find a way to Hello, beautiful beings of light. My name is Monica, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to stop living with regrets. I can honestly say that I have zero regrets, like none in my life. And that's because I changed the way I looked at things that I considered a mistake, or the whole could've, should've, would've mentality. It did take me a while to get to this point because I would go back and look at certain things and I would be like, well, why didn't I just do that sooner? If I would have done that sooner, it would have made things so much easier, so much better for me. For instance, why did I have my spiritual awakening so late? Why didn't I have it earlier? And it's all relative. For me, I might have thought it was late, but for other people, that could have been super early, doing it in my 20s. And then we have to remember that even though competition is promoted so much in our society to get ahead, that life is not a competition, especially our inner growth. It's not a competition to see who can expand their consciousness faster or better. It happens exactly the way it's supposed to happen and exactly the timing it's supposed to happen in. I have a video on this channel that I made a while ago titled, I think, you can't make the wrong decision, because I truly do believe that every decision we make, it's supposed to happen. That's exactly what's supposed to happen. So when I finally accepted this as a fact for me, that everything happens the way it's meant to happen and exactly the time it's supposed to happen, I was able to let go of resistance to things that happened in the past and believing that they were regrets. And I know sometimes we go through something that's so painful, like maybe we were in a very toxic relationship, and then we start to beat ourselves up and blame ourselves for, well, why didn't I know better? Why did I stay as long as I stayed? Why did I allow this person to come into my life and do that to me? However, I don't think, at least for me, that all those things were mistakes. I believe that they were lessons. I feel like it's only really a mistake, I guess, if you don't learn from it. And then you keep making the same mistakes again. When you learn from a mistake, then it becomes a lesson. And not a lesson to punish you because you did something wrong or you did something bad. Just something to help you learn, to grow, to expand your consciousness, to help you level up and move forward. So it doesn't have to be looked at as a good or bad thing. It's just kind of neutral. It just is. We all have different paths that we're on. We all have different experiences. We all have different lessons that we chose to learn before we came and incarnated on Earth. So it's all meant to be as it is. So once I started changing that belief or that story I was telling myself that this shouldn't have happened, why did this happen, into what did I learn from what happened? What did I gain from what happened? Because even if something seems bad or negative, it's not all bad or negative. There is some kind of silver lining. There's something good that came from it as a result of it, even if we don't see it until later on. And using myself as an example, I thought back to quite a few years ago. I was thinking about when I'd moved with my husband out of state from where we were living at the time to Oregon, and when I became super duper depressed from feeling worthless from not working because I didn't have a job there and I couldn't get a job there no matter how much I applied. And then I realized that experience made me become alone in the sense of being with myself. Like, the lesson there was I needed to be with myself. I needed to go inward. And even though I wasn't working, I created so many projects and tasks and things for me to do throughout the day, even if it was just like me obsessively cleaning all day. So that our apartment basically looked like as clean as when you first move into a place after it's been cleaned. I was kind of overdoing everything so that when my husband got home, I could be like, "Hi babe, how was work? Okay, well my day was good. I did this, 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 and this. I added value, so then I'm okay." But that's not what I needed to be doing in that time. Even though I had left the physical workplace, that mentality of busy, busy, busy all the time still stayed with me. So it's like you can take someone out of a physical environment, but mentally they're still in it until they become aware of it and they change their mentality. It has to be a conscious effort. I wasn't ready to do that yet. And then it got to a point where I was so exhausted, like beyond exhausted. I would try to clean, I would do like a little bit, and all of a sudden I had to lay down on the couch. And I would lay there sometimes for like an hour or hours. And then I'd feel more guilty about not doing anything. Finally, I went to the doctor and discovered that I had a vitamin D deficiency. And that's what was making me so tired. Then I felt guilty because if I didn't get depressed and I would have spent more time outside in the sun, I wouldn't have gotten a vitamin D deficiency. That's how I felt at the time. And then today I looked back on it and I realized that that deficiency was a blessing in disguise. It needed to happen because it was like I needed to break down in order to break open. I wouldn't have had my spiritual awakening if I didn't go through all of that. Because I finally had to physically stop everything I was doing, stop being overly productive, stop trying to work and do all these things all day, and I just had to lay down. I finally had to accept that I can't do as much as I want to do, and I have to physically just rest. And with that rest, I began to meditate. I did a third eye meditation, not knowing what it was. And I opened my third eye, and I had my spiritual awakening. And I started my spiritual journey, which has been incredibly life-changing for me. The universe has a way of doing things that may seem like really bad things that we don't want to happen, but it all serves a purpose in helping us progress on our journey. And now that I can look back on these experiences, I'm so grateful for them. I'm like, thank you, universe, for leading me to having a vitamin D deficiency and my depression so I could finally wake up and start to align and become who I truly am. Start to do what I came down here to do on this earth. I had to have all of the distractions taken away. I moved so I didn't have that community of friends and people that I would see every day. I was forced to go within. Another example I can give was I used to get really down on myself when I started a job. When I finally did get a job, we moved from Oregon to Colorado. I got a job like super quick, right away, within, I want to say like 2 weeks of us moving there. We weren't even unpacked and I had gotten a job. And I was so proud of myself. And this story I'm telling now is actually the very first video on my channel titled, I think, "You Attract What You Are, Not What You Want." That was one of the very big first lessons I got from the law of attraction. And the reason being is because at this job, I had this boss who was just driving me nuts. She was definitely a perfectionist, and she was a workaholic. She was overly critical about everything. It seemed like nothing I did was good enough. I wasn't ever doing enough. And I realize now that I had to go through that experience, even though it was painful for me, because that really helped me to understand the law of attraction. My boss was like an external version of me. Like she was me pushed out. Because I can look at her and judge her and be like, God, she is so neurotic. I'm glad I'm not like that. But I actually am. I just internalize it in my head. I don't say it out loud. But everything that she was feeling inside, she would vocalize. And I would experience it. And I feel like she didn't feel like she was good enough in some ways, or enough, which is exactly something that I struggled with, or still struggle with. And because of that, she was very critical of others, but that was just a reflection of how critical she was about herself. And that was also a reflection to me about how critical I am about myself internally and how I don't feel like enough. Because what happens, like I always say with the law of attraction, everything is a reflection. The outer world is a reflection of what we're feeling internally. And when we have things that are buried very deep down in our subconscious that we're not aware of, then it's part of our vibration of the frequency that we're sending out to the world. And so when I started working for my boss, she basically represented the part of me that was unhealed, or at least the part of me that I was not acknowledging, that I had buried deep. And the universe was basically like, hey, you still need to work on this. We're giving you a sign that this is still unhealed. This is still in process. We need to deal with this. And that's why we keep attracting similar people, similar circumstances into our lives. We're like, how does this keep happening? It's because they are a reflection of you and what's going on within you. So it's actually like a helpful teacher to look at and be like, okay, the things that I don't like about you, or the things that are bothering me about you, is something that's bothering me about me. But I might be in denial about it, or I just don't realize it. So those people and those things are just going to keep coming back until you finally dig it up and you start to bring awareness to that unhealed aspect that's within your vibration. And I think especially if we're trying to manifest something, but in order to manifest that thing, we have to let go of certain beliefs or become aware and let go of certain limiting beliefs before we can attract that thing or become a vibrational match to it to attract that thing into our life. So although it may have seemed at the time like a punishment to have that job and to have that boss and to be miserable during that time, me today can look back and go, oh, okay, I see now. That's a lesson I had to learn. And I'm finding now it's much easier and much more preferable to me to just go within, stop avoiding it, and to take a look at myself and to figure out what's buried into my subconscious and what unhealed aspects of my vibration need to come up. What do I need to look at? And the best way to do that is just spending time with yourself alone. It means no friends, no TV. You can do it in any way you want. You can do it through meditation. You can do it through going for a walk and not being distracted like on your phone or anything like that. You can do it when you're exercising, when you're running or something. A lot of times that's kind of meditative and it brings up these buried thoughts. You can start journaling. I don't like physically writing, so that's something I don't like to do. Or you can make videos like me and just put all your dirty laundry out there and process it that way, I guess. But either way, for me, the lesson I've learned is it's just much better to go within versus having to have external people and things to remind you of that internal thing that's going on that needs to be looked at. That doesn't mean that you won't ever still get those situations. I think those are necessary in order, again, to learn the lesson. But it may be less frequent if you go within more. That's what I'm discovering right now. All right, that's my video for today. Again, just to recap, everything happens for a reason. If we change the belief in the story about what happened and we look for the silver lining of what good came out of it, it really helps to dissolve that feeling of regret. And then instead of living with regrets, you're just living with more gratitude. All right, until next time, I will see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.